Hi everybody, I'm Cathy Hohmeyer and I'm the executive chef at the Lake Clear Lodge and Retreat, and welcome to the Nourish North Country Families sponsored by Adirondack Action. I'm really happy to be part of this program because part of my premise for cooking is simple cooking, keeping nourished and the nutrients in your food, and that's really what my passion has been and the way I try and cook even for my customers in my restaurant. So welcome to the program, and I hope we have a little fun. I'm trying to keep this short and simple. I keep things in excerpts for you. I have some handouts and PDFs that you can look at. I have some videos with recipes that you can look at. So today, just on this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit of tips and tricks, what is going to be in the rest of your resources, and kind of go from there. Now, one thing I've put in your packet is how to build a healthy kitchen. And I have a plethora of tools back in my kitchen, but the one thing I use, basically, cutting board, bowls, and knives. So 3 knives that you might want to try and have in your kitchen. Really, that's all you need. Really kind of large, medium, small. So the larger one is the chef's knife. It has a curved edge on it. And if you can see that there. Okay, because when you cut, you're going to want to rock back and forth a little bit. We're not going to go into a lot of this because this really isn't a how to cook kind of thing, but I did put in the resources a video on, they're using a carrot on how to, basically the definitions of chopping, slicing, even julienne in there with the carrot. So you can take a look at that and go with that with the terms that they use. So chef's knife for big meats, big veggies. I'll do that in just a second. The second type is a small paring knife, which I have very many renditions of. Just a small paring knife. Again, try and make sure that it's sharp. You're going to use it for a variety of things as well. The third kind is a serrated knife. This is just a steak knife. Steak knives are usually serrated, right? But I use this for a lot of other things than just cutting steak. In fact, very little cutting steak. There's different renditions of the serrated knives. I use them for cakes. This big long one is serrated. Breads, cakes, right? That's really what you use the serrated knives for. But I also use it for something like, because I don't really like to peel potatoes with a peeler, I will cook them first, and then I'll take a cooked potato, and with my serrated knife, I'll pull the skin back. So to me, that's a little easier than peeling it. I cook the potatoes first, and then I use my serrated knife, so that's another use of the serrated knife. Okay. And again, there's another video in there called Building a Healthy Kitchen. Shows a few items, as well as, really, again, in your kitchen, all you need is a good pot. Having things like a slow cooker and an Instapot and all those crazy things are great. Just another thing to clean and keep up on your shelf. So just remember, you can do good food really simply with really simple ideas. Now, for me, I'm used to cooking on a gas stove and not an electric stove. So if I reference things on a stove, it's usually from a gas stove perspective, just so you know. Okay, so on to a few more resources in your packet. Now, we wrote a cookbook a little while back. It's called the Common Roots Cookbook. And every week I'll have a couple of excerpts in there with recipes and kind of how-tos. What I really like about how we did the cookbook was we did variations on a theme. We did variations on recipes and how to vary recipes. And that's what I'd like to, again, kind of get into. Remember to look at your recipe, read it through, but then what can you vary? There's a video in there with asparagus frittata, but you could use spinach. So look at the different varieties of what might be interchangeable and what might you have at the time that you can interchange with different recipes. And that's what some of these excerpts will have in that as well. Now, the one thing I'm going to talk about and give you the excerpt to is called an Eintopf, which is a one-pot meal. Now, I have to say I love my one-pot meals. I throw everything in, and you'll be getting a lot of veggies and some meat with your boxes as well. And I have today just a, I think you're going to get a pork roast and different roasts. Now this is beef, but what I like about doing this is I make sure I have my bones right in it. And I did add a few extra beef bones as well, because what I like about an Eintopf is you get good broth, you get meat that's thoroughly cooked and tender. Mostly it's about tender, because if you're getting grass-fed meats, they're a little bit more lean and people find them tougher. But stews, soups, anything like that really comes to mind with me, and I love my one-pot meals. Plus, when you start this way, I just throw everything in. And when I talk about the asparagus, when I talk about the celery, I'm just going to throw the ends right in. Now, some people make a stock for a soup by taking the good stuff, the good part of the celery, the good part of the leek, and making a mirepoix, making all that sort of, to me, very complicated stuff. I like saving everything I've got and putting it right in my stock pot. And this includes, which hopefully we'll get into later, keep all the fat, all the juices that you have, because once I do my Eintopf, I'll strain it and then cool it, and you'll have the fat right on top. So whether it's pork or beef, you want that tallow to cook with. It saves you money by having all that. And a lot of people just throw a lot of good food, a lot of good juice down the drain, and it drives me nuts. I save most everything unless it's really bad, really moldy, something that you think you can't use. But I promise you, with traditional food, everything, every part of the veggie, every part of the meat portions can be used. So if you have questions on that or want to know more, that's something I could talk about all day, as well as food, as you can tell. So I like to do an Eintopf with the broth. You have a bunch of broth to make a soup. You can take a broth and make, if this is beef or pork, you can make a curry with the broth. You could make a soup with the broth. You could take the meat out at different stages and use that as different types of dishes, or soups, or sliced on a plate. So you can do a lot of things just by throwing everything in a pot. Usually what I do is cover everything just to the top with water and then simmer it. Don't really have times to give you just till the meat is tender, or till you want to take things out. This, if you kind of just play around with this type of system, will give you broths, will give you stocks, will give you tender meat, and lots of different dishes that you can do by just doing one pot to start. Okay, a couple other things in the cookbook that you have in the resources as well, and as well as the video resource. One is the asparagus frittata, and I just wanted to show you one thing on the asparagus that isn't included in that. Now, you'll have I started taking these off, so that's not a good one. But see those, I don't even know what they're called. In a larger asparagus, you're going to have those scales. In a smaller one, they're not so much and don't need to be taken off. But if you're using larger asparagus, you may want to take them off just by taking your paring knife. You may have done this before, you may not have. And I kind of just go down and go up here. You see that? Okay. All right, so just kind of tearing those off. And those get a little tough on the larger asparagus, so I tend to take those off. So that's one thing you could do. And again, so example of a paring knife too, if you haven't used one much. I take it right off with my, probably wouldn't have it over there, just be careful, and then pull that off. So with the asparagus frittata, you may want to do that to those. Now again, going back to the Eintopf, I use a lot of celery, and what I usually do, a lot of people cut the end off, use your celery. Now I'll go wash this off, and I'm not going to do it right now, but I'll throw that right in my pot. That end goes right in my stock pot in my Eintopf. The regular celery, now something like this somebody might throw out, something like this somebody might throw out. I keep it all and just throw it right in my stock pot. So these aren't the most perfect ones. I'm not going to throw them out. I'm going to put them right in my pot. So just make sure that when you're using any kind of vegetable, you do that. Now you're going to get a lot of leeks and a lot of scallions. Now scallions really look like a tiny leek. And if you have a lot of them, what you do to save those, I do a lot of things with the extra herbs and spices and everything that I have. I cut them up, put them in a baggie, and put them in my freezer if you have the space. Now, a leek is a really interesting thing, but while I have one here, I want to go over it while I'm doing this. A lot of people don't use this green part. It's a little tough. I use everything. Now, the ends, might not be, very good, so I'll cut those off, and I might throw those out or put them in the compost, but I use everything. The white, the green, and the middle all adds a little bit different flavor, so make sure you use everything. The other thing in the cookbook and something that I am very passionate about is salad dressing. You're going to get a lot of greens, a lot of wonderful stuff, something that you might want to use salad dressing with. And I'm going to just show you quick. There'll be recipes in there. But the one thing you can absolutely make your own is a salad dressing. I'll just tell this little story that I tell a lot. When I was little, in grade school maybe, I had a friend up the road. Her name was Midge, and she was very short. But I remember going up there, and I would go up there just around dinner time because I knew I would get invited for dinner. And she would always take a bowl and some oil and some vinegar and some herbs and make her own salad dressing every single night. And that always really stuck with me. And even more so if you use an apple cider vinegar that you can make, or a true probiotic apple cider vinegar, your salad dressing is going to be a tonic. It's going to be a good for you thing, even by just making a salad dressing. So even if you don't like to cook, I tell people they can always make a good salad dressing. I generally use a 1-to-1 with vinegar and oil, and I usually add a little bit of water. And another thing that I have in my kitchen all over the place is squirt bottles of water. I use water for sauteing before I put the butter in. I use water for just about everything that I'm cooking on the stove. And not grease, obviously not with grease, but I have my spray bottle here, so I'll just put in a little bit of water. And you're gonna get a lot of beautiful herbs as well, so chop those up and put them in your salad dressing. But that's how quick it is to make a salad dressing. Salt, pepper, herbs, oil, vinegar, water. That's it. And you have a tonic, especially if it's the beautiful live apple cider vinegar. Again, if anybody has questions on that, wants to know more, I can put that in resources as well. And that's it, and it's much healthier than the other salad dressings that you're gonna get in the store. Okay. One more thing that is in the cookbook, but I'm also going to give you kind of as a bonus, you don't have to do it, but the other thing that you can do, which got big over the last few years, is sourdough. Now, I don't really even like the word sourdough. To me, it's really a superfood, digestible baked good. And bread is kind of hard, so we're not going to do bread. We're not going to get into the bread, but I'm going to show you how simple it is to make a sourdough starter. You're going to get an email. You can sign up if you want to do it for an email every day showing you how to start your starter. All you need is a small amount of flour to start. It doubles in size really quickly, and a little bit of water. The thing we have to get over with the traditional foods is actually putting some things in a warm place. And this is one of them. If you've ever left out flour and water to make gravy, if you make a gravy, again, that's something you can do from your stock pot, and from your stock is to make a good gravy. We're just going to mix that up. I'm going to put it in a warm place in my kitchen. I'm going to feed it every day for about 7 days, and I'm going to have my own sourdough starter. It never has to be purchased. It's very forgiving. You can start it up anytime, and we're going to go through this in the next the next few weeks, I guess, and in the end we're going to make English muffins, which is really simple. And if you don't want to do the sourdough, again, going to be very digestible. It's a whole story about gluten and that sort of thing. There's very much more to the story than gluten when you're making digestible baked good. It's more about the glyphosate, big long story about sourdough that we won't go into. But if you want to go into that, it is in the sourdough starter email lineup that you can get, and you can go through that with me. And if not, we can still make English muffins as well. So again, I'm glad to be a part of this program, very excited. Send questions, we'll find a way to get them back and forth really easily, hopefully. And I hope you enjoy the program. I do them in little snippets, and we'll learn a little bit about traditional food cooking, which is to me the simplest way to add nutrient density to your food. If you've heard that term, we want all the nutrients in our food. There's no no secret. Food is pretty expensive right now, and we want every bit of this beautiful, wonderful food that we get to keep the nutrients in and to get the best food possible doing that, because we can. So stay nourished, everybody, and I'll see you next week.